Good morning and welcome to Ventureprise Presents Small Bites and Insights. We are now at week 5. We've had some really great series and I'm really excited about this one as well. This week we are going to concentrate on research, funding, and commercialization. My name is Laura Smales. I am the Assistant Director at Ventureprise. We are UNC Charlotte's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. One of our core programming is the NSF I-Core Customer Discovery Program. We'll talk a little bit about that as well, but our basic responsibility is to reach out across departments, colleges, and in the community to assist entrepreneurs and change makers. If you have an idea, if you have some research, we want you to contact us and talk through how you can make an impact. So we have a lot of different programs and series going on, but this one I'm really excited about. We're going to get to our guests. I'm actually going to let each of them introduce themselves. Actually, we will start off with Brad, if you want to take it first.
Sure. Thanks, Laura. So my name is Brad Fosh. I work in the Office of Research, Commercialization, and Development, formerly known as Technology Transfer. So you might kind of hear both of those names thrown around. We are located also in the Portal building with Ventureprise. So if anyone's ever over there, feel free to pop in and say hi to us. Our office at the highest level is kind of charged with protecting any inventions or intellectual property that's developed and owned by the university, and then figuring out how to navigate through all of the policies and laws and regulations on how to spin that out of the university. And so I really see our office as a facilitator. So we're really here to help entrepreneurs at the university. We are not the patent police. We don't get paid any extra money for claiming people's IP or trying to steal people's IP. And so I don't know what sort of horror stories you've heard about other universities, but we are really here to try to help you all as entrepreneurs. And we want to see the technology get out of the university. We also get involved in a lot of the legal agreements that take place around intellectual property. So anytime you're collaborating with a company, they want you to sign a non-disclosure agreement, or maybe a company is looking at funding or contracting research to the university, and those questions about IP or patent ownership, all those sort of things should be directed to our office. And I think I'll talk a little bit more later about how to work with our office, but thank you.
And Bryan.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Bryan Dennstedt with the Small Business Technology Development Center, aka SBTDC. It's a mouthful for sure. We're located in the Portal building as well, right with Ventureprise and Brad's department there. But basically, we have about 65 counselors, business counselors across the whole state. I'm in the technology commercialization team, so I serve the western part of the state from Charlotte on west there. And what we do is this very similar thing as to what Brad was saying, is can help businesses with anything that they need. We're a completely free resource funded through the university programs and through the Small Business Administration. So stop on over or check out the SBTDC website and register for some free, fully confidential counseling to help your business get off the ground.
And Dr. Maher.
Hi, I'm Marina Meyer, and I'm a professor in the College of Computing and Informatics, not in the Portal building. And for many years, my research has been on developing artificial intelligence models to enhance human creativity and curiosity. And I know that's a mouthful, but basically we look at how AI can help people be more creative and be more curious. I've applied this in many different areas, but I've mostly written research papers, which is why this is such an exciting conversation to be having. And the areas that I've been writing about is, how do you have computational creativity? How do you encourage people to be more creative when they're designing? And more recently, and something we'll talk more about here, is how can these AI models encourage people to be more curious while they're learning something. So it's about keeping people engaged while they're learning. And I'll stop there.
Perfect. And Abby, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, but then I'm going to go ahead and have you extend it and talk about how you met and started collaborating with Dr. Meyer.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Abby Olukaya. I am the founder and CEO of Smart Girls HQ, and our general purpose is to create content and facilitate experiences that enable young girls, primarily girls under age 12, to reach STEM career literacy. So I started my journey collaborating with UNC Charlotte at Ventureprise. Ventureprise was my entry point. Worked a lot with Laura and Devin to really help shape our product and story and facilitate customer discovery. And through that, it was actually through one of those events that I met one of Dr. Mayer's advisees. I believe it was a PhD student, and we were just having a conversation over appetizers about what I was working on. And I was talking to him about the desire to help parents match their daughter's interest to the world of STEM resources that exist in a personalized way. And immediately he was like, you know what? I think my professor's research is just about that. You would love to meet her. And I said, yes, I would love to meet her. And he connected us, and we had our first meeting talking about it. And immediately there was energy around the conversation because we really were thinking the same way about how technology could help advance learning and really think about personalization as personalization, not just adaptation, which is a lot of things, a lot of the other technology that exists. But not only that, so through Ventureprise, I got to meet Dr. Mayer, and we started building on this idea of working together. And then that gave birth to the idea of proposing to the National Science Foundation a project to fund developing this further. And to put all that together, I worked with the SBTDC, and so they helped review my proposal. I already had a relationship with the SBTDC just through learning about them from Ventureprise. So it all sort of came together that way. And then as the conversations continued to progress, the natural progression was to go talk to the commercialization office. So then I had to go talk to Brad as well. So the ecosystem is just, it's really strong in terms of having that support system to support you as you build your business, because there's so much to learn and there's so much to do. So it really is an amazing resource to be at the center of it all and have access to all of these amazing organizations, but not only because I am now in Portal as well, have access to all of the talent in the university as well.
And Dr. Mayer, to follow up on that, what encouraged you and what was attractive about actually looking at your research, taking it to the next level, and making that impact and sort of going forward with these steps with Abby?
Yeah, so as I think it's very common, professors usually think in terms of publishing. You know, I got to get more grants, I have to do more publishing. But my area of interest is really on that human and AI connection. I think as we move into the future, we'll see that if we do that well, it will be good. If we do that badly, it probably will have unintended negative consequences. And so it really was an opportunity to connect my research to real people through the commercialization and through the customer discovery. It was just so exciting to actually be able to not just do studies in the lab, but really get out there and get to know who are the people who might be benefiting from this kind of technology.
Oh, that gets me very happy and excited. Love hearing that story. So Brad, so walking through a scenario like this and also similar ones, where do you come into play? What's best recommended? And I always like to talk to you about the myths. You know, what are some of those myths that you really debunk, and what do people automatically assume, or do they think it's scary to come to you, or are they trying to be protected?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, you know, people are scared to come and talk to us because they've heard stories perhaps at other universities about university taking their idea or stealing their IP. And I don't think that's ever happened at our university as far as I know. We've always been able to come some sort of agreement or arrangement with the faculty member or the student and try to figure out what they're working on and what we can help them with. So just to take it back a step, when someone comes into our office, the first thing we need to do is figure out, okay, what is this idea that you have? What is this invention? We call it invention in our language. And, you know, it could be something like software. So like what Abby's, you know, working on, you know, might just be a software thing. It might be an app, but it could also be a real other piece of physical technology, like a cancer antibody or a, you know, battery for Duke Energy that's going to go on their grid. And so once we figure out what that actual type of IP is, that type of invention is, we need to look to our policies. So the university, as I'm sure you can guess, has a lot of policies on a lot of different things. And so we've got different policies that depend on the different types of invention. And so the two general categories are patentable inventions and copyrightable inventions. And so most of the stuff in the software space, unless it's overly technical, is going to fall more on the copyright side of things. And then more things on the physical science side, like that battery I was talking about, would be more on the patentable side of things. And so once we kind of know where the invention's going to fall, it tells us how to look at the different policies. Kind of the next step down from there is figuring out who owns it. And so this is the scary thing for people to know about. And in general, you know, the policy says that if you're a faculty member, if you're a staff member, if you're being paid by the university, then the university probably is going to own your patentable inventions. So that you're that engineering professor, you're working on that battery design for Duke Energy, that's a patentable invention, it falls within your scope of research, it's probably something the university is going to own. If you're a student, however, students generally own their own intellectual property, but the thing is you've got to be careful is that you don't use what the university calls substantial amounts of university resources. So just using a computer lab to write code, that's not a substantial amount of university resources. But if you're a biology student and you're in your biology lab and you're using material and reagents and all sorts of things, well, that might be a substantial amount of university resource. And so in that case, maybe the university would own it. But in general, university does not claim ownership of student intellectual property. And then finally, once we figure out all that, we figure out the best way to protect it. So is this something we file a patent on? Is it something we just don't file a patent on and dedicate it to the public? Or is it something that we look at, you know, maybe get a copyright on if it's, for example, software code? And then finally, the fun part about my job is figuring out how to spin that out of the university. And so if it's, you know, something that's just owned by a student, we can give the student a waiver or a release letter, which then they can have, and then they can bring it to investors. And when investors say, hey, I see that you're a student at UNC Charlotte, are you sure you have all the rights that you need to, you know, launch this product? They can pull out this release letter and say, yes, here's a letter from the university that says, you know, they're releasing any rights that they may have to this. Or if, you know, you're a spin-out company and you need to actually work out the proper legal agreements with the university, we do that through what's called a license agreement. And so our office can negotiate these license agreements with not just spin-out companies, but, you know, might be Microsoft. You might have no interest in starting a company, but Microsoft might be interested in your research. And so we can kind of negotiate those license agreements with the industry partners. So that's all I've got.
See, not scary, not scary. That's why I always like to have you come into class in our Ventureprise launch program, because it's literally when you leave, everybody's like, oh, that's not that bad. So definitely want to always demystify that. And Bryan, you are a great resource for us because you are always referring a lot of clients to the Ventureprise program, but sort of talk about, you know, technology commercialization, sort of where you get the university involved, how you see some of this crossover. So typical day for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, people typically come to our website and register, SBTDC.org, and you fill out a non-disclosure agreement, and that gets you into our system. So everything we talk about is 100% free as a resource with us, and it's 100% confidential. So we can have the back channel conversations and just help shape your narrative. And if you're not quite ready and you need to do some more customer discovery and figure things out, then I'm going to recommend you to Ventureprise, and we'll go through that piece of it. if you've got some good ideas and you're ready to drive that forward, then, you know, I've definitely recommended people to just reach out to Brad and his team over there. And I've just seen some great synergies between all of us on that front. But we're a really great resource to help you put together your financial models, make sure you've got some business financial viability. We can help you put together a presentation and a pitch deck to get in front of Brad and his team to convince them it's a good idea, or to get in front of other investors, and then help you with marketing, sales, you know, technology with my background in websites and mobile apps and stuff. So there's just a lot of different ways that we can help. And we've got extensive resources across the state. So if I'm not the right person, I know somebody on our team has done that and conquered that problem, and I'll put you in touch with them for a half-hour quick chat on that front. And so we help with patents and trademarks and just preparing for all these things when you go in front of the people that you need to get permission or funding or whatever for. Just try and put your best foot forward and take a good crack at it.
Great. And in talking about this, so Abby, you're both on university and you're out in the community, so you see both sides of this. So talk a little bit about, you know, getting students involved as well. A lot of students have subscribed to this channel and, you know, watch these, and so we're trying to really show faculty, students, community, you know, how we can work together. But talk a little bit about how you've used those resources as well, and where technology and university research actually fit into your business as well.
Yeah, in terms of students being involved, that actually has been one of my favorite parts of having my office in Portal, because the access helps a lot for a lot of students that may not have transportation, or it's just easy for them to feel like, oh, I could have an internship that's on campus. So this summer was the first summer that we had a nice slate of interns, and they all worked remotely because of the pandemic, but they were fantastic. They really had really strong students from across the university. There were several programs that they could take advantage of, which helped both of us. So like the communication students have an established program through the career office where they can actually get classroom credit. So they could get course credit for working with us on social media and any sort of PR communication skills. So that helped us because they were getting something out of the internship, and that particular internship was unpaid. There was another program that another student could take advantage of because the career office offers a stipend for internships if they approve the content of work. And so she could get paid through that program while she got the work experience from us. So all that is really fantastic for a growing company that's trying to conserve capital and still get, you know, the amazing talents that we're able to.
I will just add on to that. I just did a segment with 3 interns, and basically their enthusiasm for working for a startup was amazing because they got to be hands-on.
Yeah.
I mean, every one of them were like, I was talking to the founder. I was talking to the CEO daily.
Yeah.
Like, I helped shape that. So I completely will agree with that.
And one of the things that I did for our interns, particularly because I was grateful for their time, was I connected them to industry people that were in my network. So every single one of them got a 30-minute to 1-hour conversation with someone that's pretty high up in their particular industry. And they really appreciated that because it gave them a chance to think through, am I doing the right things to be prepared for the career that I'm really going after? So that was really helpful. I had one that actually ended up changing her major. Hopefully that's not because of us, but she was like, this helped. She was like, she went from graphic design to kinesiology or something like that. It was like, she was like, I was already thinking about both of these things, but like actually having real experience helped me realize, okay, I really want to lean here, which is the purpose of, you know, doing this thing.
Absolutely.
Another way that we've had students help us and gotten a mutual benefit is actually through Dr. Mayer. So she teaches a human-computer interactions course, which in that course, their focus is on user design, user experience design. And so we came in one semester and we were the case study for that course. So the course, I believe, has like 75 students. And so we had 15 teams designing different variations of what our user interface could look like, which was tremendously helpful for us. but also helpful for them to have a real problem to work on.
No, absolutely. So, Dr. Mayer, do you want to follow up with that and sort of talk about some of your students? Do you have undergraduate and graduate? Do you, do you deal with both?
Yeah, so we have an undergraduate concentration in human-computer interaction, and then we have a master's and PhD program. And it's really great. Our courses are project-based at that point. You know, they do the early courses are more lab-based, but then it turns into project-based. And having the opportunity to connect the students with real clients and a real customer base is such good experience for them. And they end up at the end of the semester with a design portfolio that they then use in their applications for jobs. And so many of my students have come back and said, it was the design portfolio from your course that got me my job. And it's because they get that comprehensive connection with a client like Abby. We've also had the City of Charlotte as a client. We've had Electrolux as a client. So it's not always the portal building, but we do identify clients for our students' projects. It's great.
No, and that's amazing. And so along with that, you're a prime example, and one that I like to tell the story of, but in encouraging other faculty as well. So faculty are also watching this and being a part of it, but sort of how do you encourage, some of your colleagues to sort of look at this, look at these types of programs and sort of try to because basically we also are looking at redefining the word entrepreneurship. It's very loaded. So when I talk to students, undergraduate and graduate, and even faculty, I try to take away a lot of weight that word has. A lot of people have preconceived notions. So I have gone to say making an impact, using your research, and taking it to the next level. So in doing that, how do you see, because you talked about a lot of it's publishing versus, actually, putting it to human examples. So how would you encourage or sort of have a quick conversation with a colleague on that?
Well, I think the best thing to do is just show them some of these examples like we're doing here. But we do see that a lot of our students participate in the Ventureprise programs, and they go through the local I-Corps program and they do customer discovery. And those students then are the ambassadors that also go back to the faculty. So I think it's an invaluable experience for our students, as for many of the reasons that Abby has pointed out, but also because our students don't understand entrepreneurship. It's one thing to go and work for Bank of America, but it's another thing entirely to think of yourself as maybe doing a startup. And this is how they get that understanding and that experience so they can even think that that's an option. And so for the faculty, many of us teach project-based courses. And so this is another avenue for them.
No, that's perfect. I love that answer. I may pull that clip out and keep repeating it. So we're wrapping up here because again, this is very, it's quick bites, small bites. So want to go through everyone one last time and sort of any final thoughts, anything that somebody comes to you, is always asking you something that you would like to clear up or encourage. Just sort of any final thoughts on that. Bryan, I know one thing is people come to you with some ideas and you encourage that university, have them talk to some university professors that are doing some similar work. So maybe start off, I'll have you kick off on some final thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, I get to serve the whole western part of the state, and UNCC is extremely fortunate to have the Ventureprise and the I-Corps program right there. So it is just an amazing resource. I steer people from across the state to come and take these classes, and you guys got them right in your backyard. So reach out and check that stuff out. I definitely, I think the two big things I guess I wanted to just leave you with is entrepreneurship is in decline across America, and everybody has an amazing idea. And, hang up your Netflix and your Facebook and pursue those ideas, because that's what's going to drive America forward, in my opinion, is entrepreneurship. And I think the key to entrepreneurship is really being vulnerable, asking for help, asking for assistance. There are so many smart people at campus there, like Dr. Mayer, And so our goal is to just connect these people together to help you figure out, is this a good idea? Is it viable? Can we make money? And how do we drive that forward? So one of the big things that we're driving forward here shortly is the investor ready entrepreneur. So for those companies that are looking to raise some funding here, that event is coming up in early December, and it's completely virtual this year because of the pandemic. So anybody from across the state, we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people coming in and listening to some really amazing speakers talk about how they got funding, what kinds of projects they fund, and what they're looking for to help, change the world and make a difference. So I'll put the link in the chat room here for us.
Perfect. And then we'll also talk more about that, and we'll send emails out. Brad, any checklists or anything that people that faculty, staff, community should have before they come talk to you, or are you open to, hey, what do I do?
Yeah, we're very open to, hey, what do I do? And in fact, so I'd say the biggest thing is come talk to us, email us early. And so, I mean, one thing that people don't realize sometimes until it's too late is that you can actually block yourself from getting a patent. And so one of the worst things that we've seen at the university is that professor or student that goes out, they publish they publish their idea, they send students out to a conference, they start getting really good data, really good feedback, and they come to us, 2 or 3 years later and try to file a patent, and we say, sorry, you can't. We need to get the patent started really early on in the process. It's never too early to come speak to us. Typically, I tell people, when you're at the stage where you're writing that grant, that first grant proposal, you're writing that first manuscript, even though you might not have your data yet, that's really a good time to come and speak to us. And certainly before you go out there and get your idea published, we want to, at least get us in the loop so we can start thinking about the patent process and making sure that we don't lose any rights for you. So yes, come speak to us early. It's never too early to come talk to us.
And we've put the friendly face out, so everybody knows it's a Band-Aid to remove. Dr. Meyer?
Yeah, I just want to say it really doesn't matter who you are, and this is relevant. So we've had students as early as after doing their first project-based course in their sophomore year, they took their project and went to market, and through entrepreneurship, that person actually ended up not finishing the degree, which is terrible, but he was just so engaged in a very successful launch of a company. And he comes back all the time to talk to our students about hang in there anyway, all the way to faculty who get grants from NSF to do what looks like very esoteric research until it's done. And then you're like, oh, this has potential to be in a startup. And so it doesn't matter who you are. I guess that's my message. At any stage, from your first year here as an undergraduate, all the way through the professors, I think it's relevant to all of them.
And Abby?
Yeah, so I was on a panel recently, and the other person on the panel had mentioned how they hadn't had any help in building their business, and it's been really tough. And I was really proud to say, there's this huge ecosystem that you might not know about that exists, right? And to help you with building your business. And I have absolutely had help from Ventureprise and SBTDC. I send Bryan people all the time. That's always my first course when I think of someone that someone could talk to as they're starting their business. So I guess my message is you don't have to do it alone. There are some really amazing resources that don't cost you anything, but your passion and your will to do the work, that exists simply just to help you figure it out. Because I think everybody gets this is such a hard journey in terms of being an entrepreneur, but also very rewarding. So take advantage of all of these resources that are available on campus.
Perfect. A great way to wrap it up. We have some links here, and this will all be available also on YouTube and our website. And final thoughts for me, if you would like to connect with us, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We also have a website that has all of this information. There's my email if you want to reach out and be introduced to anybody on this tremendous panel. But again, we want all the university colleges, departments, and community to sort of work together. It's not a direct line anywhere, but we all work together, and we want to be able to make research, your ideas, make them impact and take them to where they can be. So I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much to the panel, and we will see everybody soon. Thank you.